and welcome to the Squared Circle Psychobabble. My name is Michael Valenti. This is Ralph Valenti for the epicenter of unbiased wrestling conversations. Make sure you subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. We're off another Wednesday in the books. AEW, their go-home show to Full Gear, which is happening this Saturday. And the Survivor Series build is in full swing for NXT. A lot of things happening on both shows, but I think one big thing people are talking about, especially after Thursday afternoon, are the ratings. The ratings were very interesting. They came out. AEW won for the 6th week in a row. However, the gap is basically gone. A 0.35 rating on the 18 to 49 demographic for AEW, giving them the win. But NXT goes from 0.18 last week to 0.30. And the difference in viewership was only 9,000 viewers. Huge win for NXT, I think.
Well, they're certainly cutting the lead considerably. I think last night was probably the most fun night of wrestling that I've experienced in quite some time. NXT was definitely a solid show. AEW was another awesome show. Week after week, delivering great content, stuff to talk about, which we're going to talk about the big thing with Cody Rhodes coming up. WWE went deep in their bag of tricks with this one, and this is something we kind of speculated. If AEW continued to win in the ratings, depending on how seriously WWE was going to take AEW as a threat, would they go to the extent of bringing some of the main guys to NXT? Kevin Owens was certainly somebody that I considered somebody showing up. Probably the least of the individuals that you'd expect to show up for the main roster actually showed up last night. So they had the OC, you had AJ Styles. It made for a really cool moment. Last night was probably the first time where I actually did the most flipping back and forth between the shows because there was really so much going on. But yeah, two solid shows from both the promotions again.
And I think while there are AEW fans out there that are saying, well, AEW won for the 6th week in a row, and even bringing main roster guys like the OC, they still couldn't beat AEW in the ratings. I mean, considering the numbers from last week, like everyone knew that the ratings were going to take a hit because of the World Series. 21 million were watching. This week, there wasn't that excuse.
Right.
You would think AEW would have gone back to the 0.4 rating, back to close to 1 million viewers. I mean, 822,000 is still pretty good. But the huge jump from NXT, you could tell that the rub that they got from SmackDown and Raw definitely showed.
And that's really what they probably wanted to see, because you wouldn't want to see a situation where you have all these NXT guys on SmackDown, especially when Adam Cole is going over Daniel Bryan in the way that he did. Have it where, NXT guys are looking fairly competitive in a brawl against the guys on the main roster for Raw. If it was where, NXT got their ass handed to them in the ratings, especially in certain demographics again by AEW, I think that would be especially concerning for WWE. But it's telling to see that once you bring some of the big guns out, once you bring some of the main guys down to the NXT, or to NXT for that matter, they're going to be able to compete. AEW's got guys like Jericho, Moxley, Omega, some high-profiled guys, and a guy like AJ Styles, having him go over there, and a guy like Finn Balor is going to make things a lot more competitive on Wednesday nights. And I don't know about you, but it's safe to say Wednesday is certainly becoming my favorite night as far as wrestling is concerned.
It easily is the best night of wrestling. I mean, say what you want about Raw, say what you want about SmackDown. I know Tuesday, there's a lot of wrestling going on Tuesdays too, with Impact, NWA, and you got AEW Dark too, but freaking Wednesdays, man. That's where all the headlines are coming from, and we definitely got some headlines on this show.
Absolutely.
So let's start with AEW Dynamite. They did win in the rating, so we'll go with them first. And I think the big thing that everybody's talking about is the promo from Cody Rhodes. Where, he announces that if he loses, he will not again have a chance at the AEW championship, basically pointing out that it will be a conflict of interest being an EVP and wrestling. So I like that idea. Might have been a little too early to have this kind of stipulation, but still it works with the storyline. It works with the character. And this is such a authentic, passionate promo.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely a promo that I think is going to withstand the test of time. It'll be rated up there as one of the best promos of all time. Yeah, when you consider everything that NXT did and everything that happened on AEW, it was really two good shows, like we said, but this stands head over heels as the main thing that people are discussing today. I don't mind the fact that Cody Rhodes is saying that if he loses, he won't challenge for the title ever again, because I think further down the road, if they ever decide to turn him heel, which I'm sure he's going to be heel at some point, he could very easily pull the, oh, well, guess what? I'm a VP. I'm gonna
do what I want.
Yeah, do what I want around here, throw his weight around and kind of create a massive heel. But either way, yeah, like you said, definitely a passionate promo. It just goes to show you, when you're not given a script to follow, when you're not given something that's been, erased and rewritten by 40 different writers somewhere in the back, when you're really able to just kind of shoot from the hip and say what you want to say, just goes to show you how great a really good promo could be. And it's something that should really be appreciated, because you don't really get that too often anymore, especially because WWE is saturating so much of the television time with as far as professional wrestling is concerned. You get a lot of the same scripted, monotonous, same type of delivery, matter of fact, bullshit
insert
promos.
catchphrase here kind of thing. And, this promo resonated with so many people that AEW was trending overnight. And everybody was talking about this promo. You have people like The Rock talking about this.
Mick Foley.
Jim Cornette actually praised him. Yes, folks. Jim Cornette actually said something positive about AEW.
Yep.
So, I mean, it was that good. In fact, Jim Cornette's comment really brought me to an interesting poll. I had to put this up on our community page. It was a fill in the blank. Cody Rhodes promo was blank. And Jim Cornette's comment on Twitter was, that is this generation's hard times promo.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would go to that level. It was a hell of a promo, easily the best of the year. And I think a lot of people would say the same. At least that's what our poll said, that it was at least the best promo of the year, just coming off of 1 week from Moxley's promo, which probably was the promo of the year before that.
And the week prior, 2 weeks prior to that, you had Chris Jericho's Inner Circle promo.
Yep.
So it just goes to show you, like I said, when these guys are allowed to go out there and really just kind of, say what they want to say and shoot from the hip, it just goes to show you what people are capable of doing. Now, the one thing that I noted to myself as I'm going through, taking notes when I'm watching the show, I said one of two things. One, they really dropped the ball. WWE really, really dropped the ball with Cody Rhodes, because he has to be one of the most over guys, if not the most over wrestler in the professional wrestling industry right now. It's crazy to think that he ended his run in the WWE as a guy like Stardust.
Yep.
But, you've seen that time and time again in the wrestling industry. Steve Austin is another great example of wrestling as, the Hollywood Blondes alongside Brian Pillman, not necessarily top tier wrestler. He was very good at that point, but he wasn't like next level like Stone Cold Steve Austin was. Now, Cody Rhodes going away from the WWE, becoming the American Nightmare, completely different persona, completely different attitude. He's really hitting it on all gears, so to speak. And he's at a next level that I don't even know if there's anybody that can touch him right now as far as promos, in-ring ability. There's certainly, there's certainly guys that are talented, but right now he's like the complete package. So that was my one thought about that as far as Cody is concerned. And just it's if you're an upper level individual at the WWE, you got to be kicking yourself in the ass after seeing him just walk like that and go and do things like this continuously.
Right. And I think there are people that I wouldn't say they're against Cody, but the knock on him, if there's any right now, and this isn't my opinion, this is just what I've seen from others, is that Cody Rhodes is trying to be Triple H without admitting he's trying to be Triple H.
Well, that's why they have this storyline, I think.
I think so too. I think especially this promo where he comes out as this like sympathetic guy that was buried and did not really get the brass ring in WWE because he was put into situations like Stardust.
Dashing Cody Rhodes. He was playing second fiddle to Randy Orton. Granted, he was very young and Randy Orton was the champion at the time.
True. I mean, it's just mind-boggling how this guy WWE had. They had Jon Moxley too, and they are just two of the most over people in wrestling.
Yep.
And it's like all you had to do is give them just the slightest creative freedom.
Yep. And not only that, but when you consider that, these two guys came from the WWE where there was so much creative control, and now they're really allowed to go out there and just kind of be their own person. I don't know if there's an individual in WWE right now that can cut a promo like Cody Rhodes did last night.
No.
And I'm not including John Cena in that because he's certainly very good when he's on, but he's not full-time, so I'm not going to include him.
I think the only person that might come close, and it would be a stretch, I think still, is Becky Lynch.
She's very good, and she was very good on Raw, which we won't get into right now. But she's good. Bray Wyatt's good. Kevin Owens is very good. But, I mean, this was all-time great good stuff.
This was close to the pipe bomb. This was... Hard Times, Austin 316, like some of the iconic promos. This might go up there as one of the best.
Especially if this goes on where, people really, when you get a large amount of people to resonate with what you're saying and it turns into like this phenomenon, like Austin 316 became, like the Yes Movement became, like Hulkamania was. Now, I'm not saying Cody Rhodes is go on and be the next big thing in the professional wrestling industry, but I can certainly see it happening.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about this 6 months from now, Cody Rhodes is the champion. He's the biggest thing in the wrestling industry, and all of a sudden AEW ratings are much higher than they are now. I would not be surprised in the slightest.
Now, because of this promo, because of the announcement, and earlier this week we learned that Jericho is going to New Japan. We already asked the question, did this basically set up Cody to win? Having this stipulation now added, are we 100% sure that Cody's winning on Saturday?
Well, Cody can't win because he'd be the youngest AEW champion of all time.
I know. We can't let that happen because...
No. I don't know. I mean, it's tough because Cody's so over. But do you stretch this out? I mean, do you have it where Cody loses and maybe he doesn't win the title for a year or two?
Yeah.
And there's some weird stipulation where
he can get the title back.
He can earn a title shot back, and he plays the chaser role. Imagine a good solid 6 months where they're building Cody Rhodes up to chase the title from Chris Jericho. Right. I don't know. It's tough. I would not want to be the individual that's responsible for making that decision.
No, I mean, but I got to tell you, the storytelling from AEW as a whole has been very, very good. And we continue it with this match between Cody and Jericho with, I don't know if it was the immediate segment or the segment after. We got a video package where Chris Jericho mocked all of the Cody Rhodes Road 2 series packages that he does, where Sammy Guevara is talking about champagnes. Jericho kisses him on the head, like Cody did with Brandy Rhodes. You have Sammy Guevara putting him over. We have Virgil coming back out of nowhere, talking about Olive Garden breadsticks. Jake Hager just staring at the camera. And I loved his graphic was the Big Hurt, member of the Inner Circle. That was funny. We had Chris Jericho's aunt's friend, whose last name was Bobski, which was his character's last name in Southpaw Regional Wrestling. It was just such a well-executed, hilarious package. Like, that's how comedy should work in wrestling.
Yes, exactly. And I know we took a lot of heat for some of the comments we made about the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and, how they've been using comedy in the past several months. But to me, this is exactly how you want to use comedy. This was done very well. It was a great video package. It was well received. And again, just, AEW continue. These are the things they're doing right. This was really good, I thought. And
of course, the line of the whole package was Sammy Guevara going, man, he's 48 years old, the prime of his life. He's the youngest AEW champion. That was just well delivered by Sammy Guevara. So, and then the rest of the show, good matches throughout. And I don't think there was really that many problems. If I have to just bring up one thing from this show, and I think everyone could see this one.
I could bring up two, but I'll let you
I think the one that everybody's talking about as far as the the bad botch was Bryce Remsburg showing himself why he is the worst referee of all time.
Yeah.
He is so bad. I'm sorry. He's bad. He's bad. He's bad. He's bad.
No, this is unforgivable. I mean, I don't even know what the hell happened.
So I think what was supposed to happen was I think Trent was supposed to kick out of the Black Arrow.
Yeah.
But he didn't. So Remsburg just stopped his count and just said it was a 2. Even Jim Ross was like, wait, why is that a 2?
Right.
That should be a 3.
It was bad.
I think Pac, as best as he could, showed his anger, but not necessarily throwing Bryce Remsburg under the bus. But that was bad. Yeah. And you can't even say that's nitpicking. That's bad.
No, that's bad. And I get it. People are going to comment. People make mistakes, this and that. You got one job. Count to 3. Right. Count to 3 when you're supposed to count to 3, whatever.
Now this is the exact same thing. Well, a similar situation that we saw to close out WrestleMania 35, where the ref continued to pin, even though Ronda was supposed to kick out, or at least that was the story. And the referee's always told, just count. Just count. Even if they didn't kick out, still count. And that was a blatant, obvious blunder. And Bryce Remsburg, to me, I think, has been the worst referee out of all of them.
Big pile of Macedon shit in the ring. That's what it was.
On the opposite side, though, I do have to praise some other referees. Paul Turner and Aubrey Edwards. Round of applause for them. Because they finally enforced the tag team rules.
Yes, they did. It was almost to the point where when there was a tag, they were trying to show you, yes, there's been a tag, and they were,
actually counting the guy to go back. And I actually heard Paul Turner go, you in the ring, you out of the ring.
Yep.
And start counting.
Commentary, I don't know if it was Shivani or it was JR, but they said, in AEW, you're only allowed to come to the ring for 10 seconds before you're disqualified or something. So they're starting to get it. Maybe they're listening to our show. So for everybody who craps on us saying we're nitpicking, guess what? Management and AEW has now picked up on it. So,
yes.
Thank you.
And they did it for 3 tag team matches. All of them were decent. We found out that Private Party will be part of a triple threat match for the AEW Tag Team Championships alongside SCU and the Lucha Brothers. Sakura pulls up an upset over Riho. Mm-hmm. She was tagged with Jamie Hayter as Riho is tagged with Shayna. Very good women's tag match here. And I think the other thing, the brawl to end the show was very well executed. We had, what's Kenny going to do? Is he going to, help his friends, or is he more focused on Moxley? We got that. We had 4 matches for Full Gear merged into one segment. Yep. When was the last time that happened in wrestling?
We're going to talk about it last night on NXT.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
but besides what happened Wednesday, I don't think that's ever happened, where like you're blurring storylines into one big storyline to help send the package home. And after that show, I'm pumped for Full Gear.
Absolutely.
That's what a go-home show is supposed to do.
Supposed to make you want to buy the pay-per-view.
Right. And I think they did a tremendous job at that. Now let's move over to NXT, who had a very awesome show themselves. Right before they went on the air, it was put on social media that the OC have invaded NXT and have beat up the Undisputed Era. So they start off, they walk into the ring, they cut a promo. We see Tommaso Ciampa, Matt Riddle, and Keith Lee challenge them to a match. So that's going to be your main event.
Yep.
We got progression for both War Games. We know it will be the Undisputed Era with Tommaso Ciampa, Keith Lee, and Matt Riddle with a mystery opponent. And for the women, we got a brawl after one of their matches and after one of the women's matches on this show, where we got Shayna Baszler, Bianca Belair, Io Shirai, and a mystery person going up against Rhea Ripley, Tegan Knox, Mia Yim, and Candice LeRae. Yep. So I'm interested to see who are these final people going to be in these War Game matches.
Yep.
It's going to be very interesting, especially on the men's side. Could it be Finn Balor? Could it be Johnny Gargano? Dominik Dijakovic?
Velveteen Dream.
If Velveteen Dream's healthy, he's been hurt, but if he gets healthy in time, I heard that he's going to be out till 2020, but reports have been wrong before. It's very interesting. Yeah. I like where this is going. And I got to be honest, the OC was the perfect people to invade NXT.
Yep. And my biggest takeaway with this whole angle of them going to NXT was this. It's three guys who did not go through NXT. Three guys who participated mostly in, and aside from AJ Styles, Gallows and Anderson are really known for their time outside of the WWE and in Japan. They were pretty big stars in Japan. They were both in the Bullet Club, as was AJ, as was Finn Balor, which is why the end of the show was so interesting in comparison to last week's, because you had a similar face-off. You had Adam Cole and Finn Balor. This week you had AJ and Finn Balor. So where does his allegiance lie? So I like where that whole thing is going. My one small gripe with it is this. Imagine how much bigger this would have felt if they actually built up the OC as a legitimate faction. Now, AJ Styles is AJ Styles. He's been everywhere. He's done everything you possibly can do. So it's going to be hard for him to lose any type of momentum unless you truly try to bury him. Mm-hmm. The other half of the OC are the other two individuals, the Good Brothers, if you want to call them that, Gallows and Anderson. They've kind of been mostly an afterthought. They've mostly jobbed to a good majority of the main roster tag teams.
Right.
They've gotten a little bit of steam back, but it's not like they've pushed them like they've pushed big factions in the past. And had they built them up like that, this whole invasion thing would feel so much cooler. I think.
Here's the other thing that I'm wondering with the OC. Now, we know that Survivor Series is NXT versus Raw versus SmackDown. You have the Undisputed Era, which is Adam Cole, Roddy Strong, Fish, and O'Reilly. You have the OC, which is AJ, Anderson, Gallows, and if Finn does join them, that would be a great Survivor Series match. However, we already know Fish and O'Reilly are in the triple threat tag team match against the Revival and the War Raiders.
Yeah.
Or Viking Raiders, sorry. If I'm, saying the wrong name. But what are the OC's purpose for Survivor Series? What are they going to be doing? Are we getting Adam Cole versus AJ one-on-one? Are we getting like Tommaso, Riddle, and Keith Lee versus the OC?
Yeah, I don't know.
I just don't know where they're going with this. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because I think all great storylines always want to keep you guessing. You never want to be like, okay, I know where this is going. Exactly. It's a linear path like WWE has done for years. This is interesting. And everything with Finn Balor. Finn Balor has been a guy where he is involved with the main event picture in NXT, but he's always on the outside looking in.
Yep.
He's not involved in the brawls until after everyone's down and he, hits someone at the end. He's cutting promos on guys after they've already made their 2 cents. He's never the one instigating, whereas everyone else is.
Yep.
He's just there doing his thing. And I know you brought this up on Sunday night's show. What if he's like the mole for WWE and he's here to help either Raw or SmackDown beat NXT at Survivor Series?
If it's not him, there's going to be somebody. There has to be somebody. Yeah. There's too many individuals on the main card that went through NXT. So you're going to find somebody that ends up being the disgruntled guy that went to the main card that's going to help NXT. Mojo, maybe. That might be a good candidate.
If he's healthy in time. I know he's still hurt.
I mean, when you look at the main roster, a good majority of the roster is NXT developmental talent.
Yep.
Ricochet, he's somebody who might be an individual.
Aleister Black.
Aleister Black is one of the
Buddy
guys.
Murphy.
Yep. Yeah.
Andrade.
The
Revival.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I said on Sunday, there could be a whole giant mutiny against Raw and SmackDown where we might see, like we saw with the Alliance, but at the end of the day, instead of the Alliance losing to WWE, NXT goes over.
So I got to tell you, I think that mystery partner, for whatever reason, I think it's going to be Kevin Owens. The reason I say that is because he was a big part of NXT back in the day. And I know it doesn't necessarily fit into that storyline, but there's got to be a reason they kept him off TV. I mean, he had his little run-in, a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, he had the run-in against AJ, and then he hasn't been on since.
Right. So you haven't really seen him, so why are you keeping him off TV? Unless he's hurt, and I don't think he's hurt.
I don't think he's hurt.
You had him beat Shane McMahon and get rid of him. There's got to be a reason he's not on TV. He's not hurt.
Either that, or there's going to be a match where the OC and Finn face Ciampa, Lee, Riddle, and someone else, and the fourth person becomes Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. That's a good question to ask our followers here. Let us know what you think of Cody Rhodes and his awesome promo in the comments below. Don't forget to like this all over social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, SCPB Podcast. And for the best conversations in AEW, WWE, NXT, and New Japan Pro Wrestling, subscribe and hit that bell for notifications. Ralph Valenti, my name is Michael Valenti, and thank you for watching the Squared Circle Psychobabble.